There we are. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Adrian.
We are going live today with a new type of show. Actually, it's the old show, but with a new cape. And we start to develop into the direction of talking more about higher level topics and less about deep dive into tech. I think that changed already a bit in recent
Mm-hmm.
episodes. We had more and more the tendency to talk about leadership thing, and I think that's part of our journey because your journey changed in that direction. My journey changed. I remember back talking about Snackable CTO stuff a lot, where I was, tech stack related, a lot of continuous delivery, which is still relevant for me today. Just talked about today in a mentoring about that again in front of a team, but it is not the main topic anymore. It is more like it pops up as a possible solution for issues out there, but it's not the main thing. And I think that's a very interesting aspect here. How is it with you regarding leadership things? Is how has how were things changing for you? You say?
Most of the time, when people bring me in, a leader is solving a problem of helplessness or powerlessness or confusion or annoyance, right? So we come in to teach skills. We like to pretend. Leaders like to pretend. It's about process and workflow and frameworks, toolkits, playbooks.
Hmm.
But ultimately, we're here to help people feel differently about their work, right? So there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of annoyance, there's a lot of unhappiness, and that's really what you're there to solve. Not really to replace process A with process B, but for the people who are working there to be proud to be working there. Today's topic covers mostly that idea of apathy. A lot of leaders come to me and they say, hey, my team doesn't talk to me, or when I send a request or when I send an idea, there's no reply. Like I have to go hunt them down. And that feels like micromanagement, and then they feel guilty about micromanaging their people. Or worse, the leader might attribute that sense of they don't have any feedback to me as a show of lack of competence, where really what they get wrong in such situations is that it's a lack of commitment and a lack of reciprocation to the commitment, right? And usually this happens in feature factories where teams are just spread too thin. Like there's too many people working on too many different things, and then you need reports on where we're headed, and really it just dilutes attention. There's no focus, and then nobody really gets to feel proud about what they're working on because the company doesn't care about most things that you're working on. The company usually cares about one large thing out of 100. And it's important to be able to help people connect to that. And when you don't, you get these sort of this detachment, silence, passivity, or people just, people are glad the day went by rather than being actively engaged in the process of building a product.
I think when I see my journey, so first of all, we came to the topic because of a video I've made
Mhm.
more than 1 year ago, and it was quite effective one on all platforms. And it seems to touch the people, and every developer who works in a team knows that issue in a way or another. Especially in the recent, let's say, 10 years, I saw a shift towards creating these feature factories. I think you mentioned the feature factory already. It's this typical ticket driven development which has sneaked into our industry. And I think that's one of the main core reasons. There's this gap between business and development, which is today more like a management practice. It is like an ideal. It is like you need to make and develop exchangeable. You need to keep the process lean. You need to have good KPIs. You need to have good measurement times of people working towards goal, burn down charts. That was a drive, I think Java and other platforms, Atlassian, were partly responsible for that movement as well. And I really dislike it because it creates an environment where people become silent, where people think that I shouldn't speak up too loud. I just need to get my stuff done and don't really need to improve myself because there is not much room to improve myself. I just get things, I just get my things done, and then I'm good. And if I open too many cases here, if I speak up too loud, I might run into trouble. And I'm not feeling that I'm in right trouble because most developers I personally know start to accept the situation as it is, don't want to change anything about that, and learn or adopt ways to cope with it instead of actually making a change. Then we have the same with the CTOs, who are very often, let's say, progressed ICs. So they somehow got into this position, but they were working there for quite a long time. And that's basically nearly every time the same. And these kind of CTOs then who went up the ladder like this, they have the tendency to act in the same way. So they don't really do the, let's say, this protection stuff around the team, motivating and getting the team to actually speak up, this typical bottom-up approach that you do mainly. The ownership idea is very hard to understand. I just recently found out that it is not widely understood what that actually means. Ownership, bottom-up is still a diffuse concept for many teams out there. It's like, how can we change something bottom-up? What is bottom-up actually? And I found for myself that I was so in the tunnel of understanding these issues that it felt strange for me if someone else don't. And in recent years, I have worked together with a lot of people who know exactly about that. And now I'm working again with people who don't really know about that. And it represents, I think, most of the people out there don't really understand how they can change something. So you have some power to change something bottom up, but you need to do something top down as well. So this is both is very important. And if you don't do that, you have the typical symptoms like people are silent quitting, people silently accepting, have a lot of issues stacking up. Nothing really changes. You have these meetings where you come together, someone is presenting something, often the leader, everyone nods, everyone goes, nothing happens. And that basically accumulates to a larger problem, which most people don't really realize that it is a problem, that I notice often as well. People say,
Yes.
it's actually no problem. And there is a problem. You have issues with the business already, and no one is actually saying, we have a problem. It's actually fine. We just get used to it.
Engineering managers and CTOs often get wrong the line in the sand about when it's time to step in, right? Because if we have a established process, or if we want to introduce a process, if an engineer willingly abstains from collaborating and you communicate it clearly that it's not optional, then we need to step in day one. Not wait a week and see if it improves. Not wait a month and see if it improves. Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of leaders struggles with like playing bad cop, right? And they might cope or hope, right? Like they hope, they cope or hope. They hope it'll improve, or they hope they don't have, because really, what are they doing, right? Leaders are avoiding to have that hard conversation with their employee where they're giving them bad feedback and potentially have to pip them or fire them, because they don't want to be the guy who tells them they need to go look for another job in this economy. Right? By avoiding it, they're spreading out. What they're doing is they are pouring fuel onto the fire, and they are basically giving their silent blessing for that behavior, and then that behavior starts to spread. Some leaders that I'm coaching, we often have this venting session. Like, I ask them like what keeps them up at night, and we just keep like, they just dump everything. Like, this bothers me and that bothers me, and then usually we get into this thought pattern, this speech pattern, looking for problems, and it standardizes into a sort of feedback or sort of analysis of, I don't like how this engineer handled the situation, right? And I usually pause at that and say, well, is there a playbook how they should be handling it? Or do they need to discover how to handle it? So, and usually the answer is, oh, no, they should have done X, Y, and Z. Okay, do they know that?
Mhm.
And if not, tell them. And if you told them and they still don't do it, well, I got bad news. Maybe that person is not competent to be in this role. Or maybe the behavior that you want from them requires first a conversation about a promotion. Because it is, then we need to frame it as, well, hang on, is that a senior engineer who you want to be a tech lead? And now you're teaching them to be a tech lead without even bringing up the topic of promoting them? Or is this a tech lead who acts like a mid-level engineer and you're treating them like a mid-level engineer rather than treating them like a tech lead who is underperforming? Like, we need to simplify the conversation down because these frames are very important. We need to know ultimately whether you're happy to work with somebody and you want to give them growth opportunities, or whether they're not performing and you're basically helping them catch up with how they're neglecting their duties, but you never let them fail, and you never give them feedback, and you never give them support when they failed. I had a situation recently where we had to let somebody go. So I advised a leader, and ultimately we had to let somebody go. And my feedback to them was that, hey, when you brought me in, the coach, it appeared as if you were looking for backup to pip this person without actually doing a pip. And that's not fair.
Can you explain that easier? I don't really get it.
A pip would be, sorry, so this is a leader who struggled giving negative feedback, right? So it felt like they brought me in to proxy the negative feedback, right? And what I did, I said, look, you didn't give me the authority to fire him, so I won't pip this person, right? You have HR for that. Like, you also need to legally protect yourself. I can just come in and share private details about our conversations, right? But then what I did share with him was that this employee with whom you're not satisfied with doesn't know that you're not satisfied with their performance, right? So if you were to fire them today, it would come as a surprise. And as a general rule, when you fire somebody, when you let somebody go, it should never come as a surprise.
Yes.
They should
Absolutely.
always see it coming, and they should always have support along the way. So that is failure number one as us, the leaders, as engineering management. That's just bad engineering management. That's what we need to take care of. Regardless of their performance, regardless of the project, they need to see it coming, and they need to know that they're being treated fairly and transparently. If we're not happy with their performance, they need to know that we're not happy, and they need to know what they can do to improve. So that then we can observe, given tools, given opportunity, we can then test their commitment, not their competence, but their commitment of, hey, we had some tough times. Would you like to continue working here? Because that entails fixing some behaviors. And if they say no, that's not because they're not competent, but maybe they actually have, maybe they just didn't pass the vibe check, the culture check. Maybe they actually have a preference to go work somewhere else. Or maybe they already have an offer. But that is always the preferred way, and it's very easy to test. Right? Another leader, this was some time ago, actually as a test to me about how I would handle a situation.
Mm-hmm.
A coach, like how I would advise. And a CTO of a company, a CTO who is also co-founder, I think that's important, was telling me, look, this is my worst team. What should I do about them? And I told, and he gave me this analysis of the client, the project. And my response to them was, A, why are you investing into your worst team? What does the best team look like? right? Like, what's the difference? Is it like 10% better, or is it like a huge difference? That was my first question. My second question was, in response to that analysis, was, do they know you consider them their worst team? Do they know? Do the other teams know?
People very often avoid this as leaders to actually face the challenges.
Yes. Yes.
They when they see an obstacle, they basically take the other route, and then they
Mhm.
try to sit it out, hope for the better, and on some point in time, they then do this hard play push because it is already too late to fix something. And often people don't see that
Yes.
if you really give the team a chance, first of all, to be a team, not isolating each other. I have it basically in every mentoring I have with a
Yes.
tech
The
lead since
isolation.
years.
Yes.
Is the isolation. Yeah, what's the next measurement idea? What do we have planned? More one-on-ones.
Mhm.
No, you have a team. Work together among the team. Not in. It is not having performance meeting every day with everyone and expecting
Yeah.
suddenly they grow into a team. This
Mhm.
is not how humans work. And literally, since years, it's the same thing. People run away because one-on-ones. I think one-on-one is you have the illusion of control. You can control the situation, and you can control the uncontrolled, let's say, circumstances or side effects better as a leader who is not convinced of their own skills right now. So if a conversation goes wrong, it's just a one-on-one. So it's good for you as a lead because of your ego, because of anxiety. But in reality, you should have the conversations in front of your people. And when you then join a team, and that's the funny part about that, again, in every team, then you talk about these things, 50% or more of the team doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's like
And also the leaders aren't aware that this isolation, this separation is self-imposed, that they actually want it. Like, so for example, with this client that gave me this test, there's a reason why I asked these questions. Like, do they know? Because I was about to propose that their worst people spend more time with their best people to learn from them, right? Because why not? And his reaction was immediately, no. My best people are working on an important project. I don't want this team to bother them, to interrupt them. That's all over my face, Adrian.
everything changed in my browser. I don't know. Nothing
Wait,
works
can
today.
That's
Well,
terrible.
it's okay
Why
for
is
me,
it like
though. It's
that?
okay for me.
No, it's. Wait, what does it look like?
That's good.
Is it
Why?
broken?
Why is it so different?
Why is chat broken? Okay, I don't know. So leaders often try to hedge their bets. They don't want to communicate clearly, and like in their head, they're stack ranking their people and teams, but they don't want to transparently say that they're stack ranking their teams. And that creates like a really weird sort of closeted conversation where very important considerations about authority and influence and leadership and respect get flattened out into this common denominator. And the common denominator is your relationship with the people you're unhappy with as a leader, right? So everybody in the company you treat exactly the same, which is to say you treat them as you would treat somebody that you're unhappy with. So there's constantly this negativity in the air rather than praising your best people, right? Like, just praise your best teams, and the lack of praise to certain teams will stand out, right? And then you will be able to have conversations about that. Ultimately, that's what one-on-ones should be for, is you should be able to look for praise, look for issues, and then handle the issues blamelessly. Otherwise, you're just labeling certain teams and certain people as always problematic or less than or less or inferior or less capable or less committed or less reliable. And then people will take it seriously and they will adopt that label, and then that's how they will show up. And that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, you need to draw a line in the sand and say, look, that was a fluke. It passed hiring and it shouldn't have, and I need to correct that mistake. And a lot of leaders, they dread. to be in that position.
There's this typical thing. I don't know if you know that when you speak to tech leads. I don't exactly know if that is actually in other industries as well, but if you speak to tech leads about a problematic person or a team, then the tech leads sit there with other tech leads and thinking about what can we do about them. It is not like let's talk to them and let them figure out a solution for the situation. It's not like they're sitting there like I don't know. I think we can't do something.
What should I do about this engineer to trick them into being a better engineer?
It's like sitting there. It's like the gods who don't want to have any connection anymore to the humans. Like I don't know. Maybe we should send lightning. I don't know.
It's like, what gate can I put on the pipeline for this engineer to become much better?
So we gave the humans reason, but we don't think they will use it, right? No, it's impossible. And it's like there is not much. I assume that my personal. So I'm my biggest issue I saw in life for myself was my ego, and I see the very same patterns in so many people, or basically all people. So ego is a huge fundamental human condition problem, and it is like people phrase these kind of situations to avoid really facing, like standing and saying, no, I think you should change. I think there's something wrong. That is such an obstacle for people to confront people and say, I am not happy with your performance. Instead, we wait for important performance meetings, which often come from HR or very far away, that you can say, HR told me that. And then you are more the messenger than the actual leader, which I call the proxy manager, not leader.
But we have to keep something in mind, like that proxy manager, leader, and the HR that you just brought into the conversation. That serves a different purpose. HR is there to uphold and protect the company, or sort of to enforce mutual protections when it comes to labor laws.
Yeah.
That's what HR is for, right? So if somebody's lack of performance or disrespectful behavior or silence would be a breach of contract, you have HR there to back you, right? For wrongful termination or for pipping, etc. But that's not really like that. That's the last line of defense. That's already the least effective way to have that conversation, because it's sort of dehumanizing. It's no longer Steve or Bob. It's SDE one is no longer. It's like below expectations. We need to. It's not a rich expression of what you can do as a leader. What you can do as a leader is, hey, how confident are you about running this project solo? And what are you worried about? What and how can I help? Rather than you need to do this and this and this and this, so you don't need to make all of these mistakes. And yeah. What else should we talk about, Adrian? We're sort of halfway through the episode.
There are two worlds, and I think that is a totally misunderstood thing when developers and tech leads treat like we are engineering and that's it. So we are like, we have an engineering world. Our goals is the ticket, is fulfilling the ticket system, making business people happy, like product people, like project manager, whoever is there. And there are two worlds, and I would like to talk about more in specific how this thinking of separation, so separating away the engineering from the business, actually affects this main topic, like developers are silent. No, you ignore them from the business perspective. Many businesses treat developers as a necessity, and that's a lot connected with the AI replacing staff. That's basically where it comes from, because if people wouldn't have that, that wouldn't be a topic of its own at all. And I think that's one of the biggest thing we should learn about, is that engineering, especially in SaaS companies and these kind of things, are the core of the company, not some department on the right side, on the left side, and you can treat them like something you need to maintain somehow, and you need to employ some people who manage this because it's so annoying. developers. If you have that kind of mindset, you have already lost, because you make it nearly impossible for the engineers to get closer to you because you separate them, and that's a top-down issue right now. What do you think about that?
I often see engineers being mistreated as a tool, or as a operator of a call center, or as a cog in a feature factory, right? The best teams that I coached and work with, engineers were treated as strategic business partners. So they weren't looked at as you are the organic thing of this deployment pipeline or this SDLC, but you are actually here sitting down with us, deciding what goes to our customers, talking to our customers, representing the company in front of our customers, right? So that there wasn't this sort of dehumanizing stance of, oh, if it's a product decision, it has to be from a product person, and if it's an engineering decision, it has to be from an engineer, right? Because this over stratification just creates boundaries that make people not want to talk to each other, and that's that's today's episode primarily. If you want people to talk to each other, you need to have very strong expectations of them to express curiosity and interest in understanding the other side. So engineers need to understand the product. Product needs to understand engineering. The CEO needs to sort of come down and have strict OKRs that require these two divides, these two camps across this divide to talk to each other.
Yes.
Right? Like the goals should be so fundamentally challenging and sort of on that sweet spot of I don't know how to get there, but it's exciting if we do, so that collaboration is the only way forward.
Yeah.
If you set your goals in such a way that of a 20 people org, it's just 20 people individually doing singular tasks, then the goals are too small.
Exactly.
Then if there's no need for collaboration, then you probably don't have any competitive advantage if it can be done by anybody working in a feature factory. That means you're in a low margin business. That means that your need for communication is basically divide and conquer, right? So it's just scatter behavior. I have payments, clients want projects, project needs to be split up into tickets, and then we need to assign the tickets to make sure that we can push as many like paid developer hours per week, right? And that's just not good business, because that is a commodity.
Quickly imagine what you just said. It is so important, and we need to clip this. Is if you can run a business of 10 developers up or more and reduce everyone to work in isolation just by himself, and you think of, why don't we get better in what we do? So there is so much going wrong. There is like your entire baseline is based on a single frustrated, isolated person who don't want to talk to other people. You have frustrated tech leads who try to get the people together, and instead of doing that, having business people or product managers or scrum master who proxy the people who play like the strings that everyone is working still in isolation, and everyone is talking about that in one-on-ones. And you're like, oh, I don't understand why this gets better. So I have no clue. And I think that was triggering me a little bit, because I think that became my main job in teams, to try to break this apart. And when you start talking about that, people look at you like, don't understand what you're talking about there. It's like I have that in German teams, I have that in UK teams, and I had even had that in American team, even though in American teams it's not that common, because ownership is a different thing there. But here in Europe, you have still this old mentality of you need to listen to your boss.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing coming, you don't say anything.
Committees are the death of every company.
It's absolutely brutal.
What engineering leaders get wrong about ownership is that ownership has to do with your ability to autonomously make decisions. Mm-hmm. Ownership isn't that you run the meeting and then you present your opinion to 7 people and then we vote and then the highest paid person wins. That's not ownership. Ownership has to do with, I make the decision and I don't need to explain myself to you. Now, if my decision was bad for the business, we still need to have a conversation. But the point isn't that then after one mistake, you take ownership away from me. So most leaders show up that are working in such environments. What they did was they give one person ownership, and that person was not competent enough, and they were not competent enough to show up for them in such a way that expresses their dissatisfaction in a way that is constructive, that would allow them to grow rather than being seen as a slap on the wrist. And they got burnt once or twice, and then this leader stopped trusting people. So nobody owns anything because the leader owns everything. They make all the decisions. But obviously they can't make all the decisions. So they need to hear everything, and then they micromanage from a distance. And it's not really micromanagement. This isn't exactly what we would consider micromanagement.
You were gone.
Okay. Did I get disconnected from? I saw Restream rebooted me, but am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it's not micromanagement because you're not really looking over their shoulders, but it is micromanagement in the sense that you're taking ownership away. This person now can't decide how they will build it. And a great leader, how they show up is they tell people, you're in charge. This is your decision. What will you do? How can I support you? Right? And a lot of leaders that are not comfortable with this, they are like, they talk to me because I call them out on it. I tell them, look, this is what you would have to do. And they usually have a justification. They have an excuse. And they usually have one of two. One would be, no, I can't make this person the go-to person because then everybody else will be offended that I have a favorite. Or number two, I don't want this person to make the decision because I don't think they're competent. So I don't want to give them the option to then have to be called out by me and corrected. Right? And both of these justifications require care. They require nurture.
Yeah.
Right?
And how do you do that? So let's become practical.
So let's break down both. Number one, right? You don't want to communicate that you have a favorite. I recently implemented this in an organization that I'm coaching in Austria, and it's quite simple. It took us some time to get established, but usually there was this idea of, we don't want to stack rank people, right? We don't want this idea of this engineer is worth more than that engineer. But look, like you can feel that some people are just amazing to work with, and they produce a lot, and they care about the customer, and they provide output. And then there's other engineers who are not good at feature work, but they're great at investigating stuff, right? But they have the same contract, they have the same title. So what? Like you want to treat them equally, right? Like you can't treat them equally because they're different, and you're satisfied about different things from each engineer. So with this team, it took some iteration. Ultimately, what we landed on is I asked the CEO to start introducing OKRs. And I told them, look, like don't stack rank your engineers or your teams. Create clear OKRs so you can narrow it down to a fewer than there are people. That's important, right? Less goals than there are people. Otherwise, you create a feature factory. And then make sure your best people have ownership over the most important OKRs. So just stack rank the mission and then assign a few key people to own the mission. And that will be enough. And that will already allow people to understand who you value and what you value and why you value it. And then the people will have this role model of, the company values this because of that and that and that and that. So that is a behavior to model. That is a behavior to replicate. And then it had this immediate effect of that person could now make decisions immediately without requiring 17 different meetings to make an architecture decision. But also other engineers could then pick up. It had this sort of trickle-down effect of, that behavior is actually desired. I'm also capable of that. and then they needed a little bit of massaging, they needed a little bit of help to start expressing it in their own way. And the business also started treating other engineers better when they started replicating behavior that they had evidence for being rewarded in the organization, right? And then you didn't need to stack rank anybody. People just went with the plan. We had a very clear vision, and then we just put numbers on the vision. It's like, this is what we value, this is what we don't value. We're putting a stop to that, and we're emphasizing engineering spend on that.
Yeah.
And then behaviors that came with it, people just started modeling. And it made it very obvious and very transparent to figure out what traits are valuable, what behaviors are valuable, what kind of forms of collaboration
People
are
figured
preferred.
out. You know,
Yeah.
that is the point. That's what actually bottom up means, is that the change comes from the basis of the teams and not as an idea or a measurement or a practice from above. That is, when you talk about culture, you need to talk about cultivation as well. It's like more like a garden than it's not building Lego bricks. It is planting something and making sure it has, it had the right conditions. And I would like to add something regarding ownership, because I had that not only in mentorings, but this idea of ownership discussions with people in my proximity here, because I tend to use the word ownership even in German quite a lot, and they ask me, what the hell is this ownership? What do you own there? It's like people still don't grasp this, and I want to quickly give a little bit of an explanation how my definition is you have power as a leadership person, as a manager. You have sort of power, you have the credibility to keep that power. Someone gave it to you. You need to have that. And you give a fraction of this to a specific person with a specific role, with a specific task and a goal, as you describe it. And you protect that person and say, you have this now from me. I give it to you. I don't do that anymore. You have it now. It's a singularity. Only one can have this. But whatever you do, I protect you. You don't need to. And even people above me can't do anything, because this is chain of command. I give it to you. You have it, but you have it, which means that it's not only it is your responsibility. That's what you do of it. And it's your accountability. That's what I give you.
Yeah.
Because of that, now you need to do that. That is in a nutshell. And them takes it or doesn't take it. If it takes it, the person needs to develop responsibility in order to fulfill it, or say, I can't do it. That's part of the responsibility as well. I can do it. I need to change something. We need to change something. I need help. We need to do this now. So, which means that even if this person says, okay, but I need help now, I need to have another headcount helping me, I can't do that alone, you need to give that headcount to the person, or at least have a discussion about that.
Yeah.
You can't just say, no, you need to do this alone. This is taking away the ownership in that moment again. Ownership means you pass the entire ownership to that person. And that is why it's so important. What you said is the competency. You can't just pass ownership to a person who isn't competent and ready for this role, job, because you will basically outstretch that person in a blink of an eye. This person won't do it. You will take over. And if you do that three times in a row in a team, you basically create a habit that you have fake ownership, and you are the dependency of the team. The team starts to not do anything anymore if you are not present. That is when you call it ownership, but in reality, you are still the person telling what to do. But I think that I wanted to add this because I had this discussion so often in recent weeks. Hello, Carlo.
And so I brought up two examples earlier. Well, one of them was that you don't want to show favoritism, but it also makes it very difficult to figure out what behaviors are valued and how sort of feedback gets attributed and how good behavior is attributed publicly. The other one was that the leader already doubts the competence of an individual, and they just don't want to put them in a position where they would have to be challenged. So with the second bit, leaders struggle to express their dissatisfaction publicly. What I mean by that is that there is this stigma of engineering managers, or people who are in the roles of an engineering manager. It can be a CTO. Generally, they will want to avoid publicly naming underperformers. Makes sense, right? Makes sense. But
Yeah, yes or no?
yes and no. But this isn't a very good blanket strategy to follow. Because if you struggle publicly naming and identifying underperformers, then
no one is doing.
Then nobody knows who the underperformers are. And if part of your duties is to help people who are struggling, well, then you can't help underperformers unless they come and ask for help. But in a culture where there's no talk about underperformers, anybody who asks for help immediately labels themselves, by contrast, as being an underperformer.
Yes, that's the issue.
And that's why then developers stay silent, right? If you said,
I don't want to be the first person raising
Yes,
hand and being shot
exactly,
at, right?
exactly. So if you as a leader show up as, hey, I need help with this, I don't know how to do this, I need your help, you show them an example of how to ask your help without adopting that label. So that's number one, you can model it. Number two, you can tell an underperformer that he's underperforming and that you expect them from now on to get help. And you can call it out. You can call it out and say, hey, you had some rough times with the designing that feature. From now on, I would like you to check in with this other developer about how to improve that, how to avoid that. He built something similar. Why don't you learn from him? And then you give the other person direction. Hey, I expect you guys to work together closely on this and provide each other for support. And I'll be checking in with you guys about how that's going. Right? So that's very helpful. What's not helpful is to then be hush-hush and do this privately and be constantly worried that somebody will be offended. Well, they'll be offended when you fire them. They'll be offended when you let them go because your company runs out of money, right? Like it's a business. There isn't anything like this coping and hoping strategy of let's just ignore the underperformers because they'll just figure it out by osmosis. That's never gonna happen because all it does.
You don't give that. I really like to have that as a team responsibility to point out outperformers internally and make sure they are not underperforming anymore. So that can be a task without blaming from outside. So the tech lead above the team, or however you want to call it, doesn't need to point out a person in public. You can just say the team is underperforming. Please do something about that. For that, you basically have team leads. Yes. Team leads are supposed to keep that private and make sure that the baseline is kept. And if the baseline is not, if you're constantly underperforming, even though the team knows about it's underperforming, then you shouldn't have any problem pointing that out again and making consequences. Consequences are often something which doesn't happen until the consequences someone needs to leave or someone leaves, as you said. And this is what I personally absolutely dislike. That is, Seneca, to have a little bit of stoicism here right now, Seneca said, if you protect the wicked, you harm the good. And that is exactly what happens here. You cannot simply protect the people who not doing well, even though they have a contract, and expect everyone else or tolerate it, because on some point you punish the people who are actually doing good and suddenly lose colleagues, don't really get that, or are so frustrated that they think they need to go because they cannot speak up because no one is talking about problems.
When you get this effect in your company where your developers don't want to talk to you, especially when your best developers don't want to talk to you, it's usually because you lost your best engineers, your best people's respect, or when you lost their commitment. They are no longer excited to work for you or to work on your projects. They're just coming in to get a paycheck. This impulse to sort of be satisfied or dissatisfied based on some kind of level of influence, based on some kind of respect, is the primary tribal drive that allows good teams, great teams, elite teams to flourish. This is what you need to nurture. This is what we mean by engineering culture. Okay, that was odd.
No,
You swapped us through.
just customer support.
Oh, I see. I see. Oh, you were mirrored. I see. Oh, your books. I see. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Just we have developers. Developers have normally OCD, so I need to do something.
Those who
Otherwise, I
are
cannot focus
listening,
on what you have to say.
those who are listening and can't see the video, Adrian just mirrored himself and sort of swapped us left to right on the screen because Kaloyan pointed out that we are in our opposite to our normal setup.
Before we started to stream, I rebooted my Mac, but I did it with shell, so sudo reboot.
Oh no!
And I think it somehow destroyed my cache of Chrome. So my entire Chrome was resetted when I.
Oh yeah,
I
it was
started
probably
to
just
stream.
hard shut it down and didn't save
Yeah,
properly.
not a good idea. You shouldn't do that. Anyway, so we have mostly ticked all topics on our agenda today, which is very good.
Any questions from the audience, perhaps?
Yes.
Maria Kaloyan, I saw you pop in earlier. On Substack, I saw Shay join us again from last week.
Shay, Gabriel, and Silvio.
Glad to see regulars being very active and being very interested in
what people
also maybe this is a good time. Sorry, Adrian, for interrupting. Maybe this is a good time to remind everybody to subscribe and follow us. We're, for better or for worse, we've mostly been emphasizing YouTube. It seems to be our most stable channel. If you want to be alerted about what's going on, just remember to click the bell. And if you want to talk to us, or if you have these kinds of issues in your company, best just connect to us on LinkedIn. Tell us, like, leave us a note. Hey, I watched the episode. I want to talk. That's the best way to get in touch with us, so that we know that you're not a robot.
Do you like Discord?
Yeah,
sir?
I use Discord, but I joined a lot. I use Discord for games mainly. I joined a lot of tech Discords, JitterTed's Discord, the Event Meddling Discord, Optivum's Discord, and somehow it just doesn't vibe with me. So maybe it'll vibe with me when we create an OTJ Discord. Maybe we should do that.
Because the OTJ site, I just saw today that I need to redesign it because they're a little bit neglected, but I needed to connect it again. And you can subscribe then on that site, but you will be able to join the community from that site as well if we do a Discord community. And the idea is that you get a better overview of what we're going to do, what we're going to do in the future. We are changing a little bit right now from pure tech to tech leadership mainly, so really have that not as a side topic but as a main topic, so making that a little bit more around what we do in real life, not just artificial topics we need to find. And I think it makes sense to create again, as we were in the beginning, or trying in the beginning, where we were closer to what we are right now again, to get the people more together. More places to subscribe, or central place to subscribe. What are we going to do? Maybe we're doing things outside of that as well, and getting more feedback of you, what you want us to talk about, who you want us to speak to. And I think that is something we were missing, especially in the last year. It was very abstract to get to us. We weren't very regular, so very consistent anyway. That was mainly on my side. And we want to change something about that and get back to how we basically performed in the first 2 years of OTJ. My God, it's already a long time.
Yeah, it's been, yeah.
Yeah, and get back, so really get to this, that we actually create content series again. We want to even make more short videos. We want to make even some videos on longer parts, so that we really get into this idea of content creation again, where we create something you want to watch and talk about that, or maybe even write on something, but we will see. Sorry, now.
Writing is difficult because it requires a constantly nurtured audience, and then every now and then it'll click. But I see a lot of AI summarization going on, at least with written content nowadays. Everybody expects it to be very fast and very broad and very deep, and there's a lot of AI summarization of AI written topics that I see, and it's hard to keep up with just the volume. And it's very difficult to get above the volume without a large following. So
That is the
trying to
reason
figure
why
it out.
I think the
Um,
chain of measurements we just talked about will eventually add up to something,
mm,
and just it is an official attempt. Maybe we were thinking of changing the name, but if I was thinking more and more about that, actually, it's still our tech journey.
mhm.
Well, it
We
is a
could
little
maybe
bit.
we could maybe rebrand, change the colors, change the logo. But with regards to today's episode, like the way you could help in the audience, Maria, Simon, if you're still here, um, primarily what we're looking for, how we need your help, is to build a shared understanding of how this is helping you, or what you're struggling with, or disagree with us. That's also good. Like, we want that. Disagree with us. Tell us what you tried. Tell us how you already tried what we're suggesting and why it didn't work for you, and what we can learn from that. Like, and that's primarily the platform we've set out to establish a few years ago. And then we, every now and then there's this wave of TDD hype, and then AI hype, and then we and microservices in between, and there was this whole stint about event modeling and event sourcing that I was interested in, and people just flock towards that because the keywords are rich and it's very easy to discover the content.
Mhm.
But we never really got into very deep conversations about CQRS. Like, most of our deep conversations that people enjoyed, our best performing episodes, are about discussing the human problems. So we also need your help in like learning from you about how these help you, or what you disagree with, or how you applied it, or if you have any suggestions about what other topic we could cover, or if you would like to suggest a guest that we could interview. But
Mhm.
ultimately, it has to do with, we need your contribution, a sort of pulse check, to see what's going on in tech for you, like what your tech journey
Humans in
is.
tech.
Yeah,
The human in tech, actually.
it will help us a lot, immensely, to see your tech journey while we're talking about ours, and to sort of use this channel and use this platform to connect on that level. Because ultimately, we all, for better or for worse, are exposed to the same kind of problems, and we usually use the same tools and the same solutions. But our industry might be different, or our language might be different, or the framework might be different, or the
We have
clients might be.
isolations in teams, but we have isolation in between companies as well. Many companies see what we do, what others do on YouTube, as a form of entertainment, not really on that is something I could try for myself. This start to actually change something.
Mhm.
Again, a stoic idea here is you are both the marble and the sculpture. So you cannot just watching YouTube
Mhm.
like while someone else is shaping him or herself doesn't change you at all. On some point, you need to take the chisel and start to hit yourself.
Yeah.
That is, you need
No.
to start
Yes.
shaping
Yes.
yourself, right?
Yes.
And that is what we need to do. That is what we need to understand. And the more you do, the better it is. And the more you let us know, the easier we can connect you. Because there are a lot of people out there who actually would like to have more buddies around that topic. And you need to
Mhm.
quickly think about that. There are multiple people, at least 15 to 20 people watching this show right now, and later on, probably more than 100 people. That is the current numbers that we have across 6-7 channels.
Mhm.
So imagine that you are sitting in a room with so many people, it's like a little conference. You just have some like little like I don't know how they call, not blindfolds, but you know what I mean. So you can't really see the other person around you, and just you go away. You don't put that away. You don't take a look. You can't do that. And I think we need to be the leaders here who bring the people together. So maybe we should try it with a Discord, that we have a place where the people are watching together the show and discussing that and giving us some feedback, which is not the LinkedIn chat.
Mhm.
Because the LinkedIn feed is mediocre. Substack is okay, but Substack forgets it basically entirely after the stream. And YouTube it's not
more
about commenting.
difficult. Yeah, Substack is great for articles and live, but YouTube still dominates on-demand video, for better or for worse. It's just a better platform. It's just latency is better, quality is better, and it loads faster, which is I think the main benefit. And also discoverability is much better.
Yes.
We had a few comments from Shay and Simon. This is the one you copied from Shay, right? From
yes.
Substack.
We will prepare the studio next time better. I was a little bit unprepared right now, but we will get that done. Look, there is a +1 OTJ Discord community. I know this guy. If it's a guy.
Yeah. He's been here multiple times.
Yes. So we need to call out Discord more than people show up. So there's a term for the people watching us but never say something. It's the so-called lurker.
As a general rule, we are no longer engineering management. Like you working in software and working on a team, most of what you're facing culturally, not technology-wise. Technology-wise, you will have unique problems and you will create your own unique problems. But culturally, most issues that you're facing culturally on an emotional level are solvable and have been solved by others. If you're being disrespected at work, that is a solvable problem. If you don't like your CI/CD pipeline and it requires 7 different approvals from 3 different people, that is a solvable problem. That is a solvable problem to the degree that we can start working on it today, and it's a solved problem in 3 months, and you never look back to your entire team. It's possible. If you have PR hell right now and you spend most of your time yelling at people to beg them to come review your PR because you can't deploy anything without their help, that is a solvable problem. Not the yelling, but the fact that you need PRs and why they're slow and what you're working on. Your sprint planning is taking 3 hours. That is a solved and solvable problem. It can be addressed, right? Mm-hmm. That's what Adrian and I are doing. We get parachuted, paradropped into these dysfunctional, into these well-meaning and competent organizations that make a lot of money, but they have their quirks. And then quirks that people assume that cannot be helped with, and it has always been like this, and we will never change. And then we help just figure out, okay, who's investing energy into, who's maintaining that illusion, that facade, that assumption that it cannot be changed, that it must just be, it must suck because it has always sucked, and we tried and we failed, and the more we try, the more we waste our time.
I really need to. Go ahead. I really have something. It's like you said, parachuting in. So I had that now over the years several times. A CTO or a CEO calls me on mainly LinkedIn, and we agree on something. We have 1 or 2 mentorings, and then they say you need to join in. You need to support me in real life, in real time with the team. You parachute in. You expect a big issue there. So a huge issue. Something is really going bad. You drop down there. Everyone's looking at you like, what are you doing here? I'm here to help. Help with what?
Yeah. Help with what? Yeah.
Staring at you, and you ask, isn't everything bad? No, it's everything fine. You can go again. No, all good. And the CTO, no, it's bad. And then, but what is bad? It is a little bit like that is the essence of our conversation.
I noticed that a lot with lone wolves, with that archetype of lone wolf, or that benevolent jerk mentality of, I sometimes get parachuted and I'm not introduced appropriately, right? And some people get worried, get anxious about my presence. It's like, why is this, why is this therapist here? What's this Dennis guy doing here? Why do we need a coach? And usually I have to explain to them that I'm here to help if they need help. And there is often, like, there's a lot of people who think like this, but they don't say it out loud. So the number of people, the ratio of people who say it out loud is actually very small. But there's always like 1 or 2 people who are like, we don't need any help, everything's okay, right? And that's their defense mechanism kicking in of, we don't need your help, everything's okay. And I tell them, well, that's not what your boss thinks. Like, your revenue is down, there's concerns, customers are facing outages. Seems like there's a lot we can improve. Because when you tell me we don't need your help, everything's okay, that tells me that you are at your maximum, that this is the best that it'll ever get.
Mhm.
And then I'm there to disillusion people and say, look, your company is not happy with your performance as a team. So if you carry the stance that this is the best it'll ever get, we have a huge problem. Because expectations are here, and you're telling me this is the ceiling. Guess what? The company will go and find a new team that can meet expectations, right? And that's a very uncomfortable conversation to have if you're met immediately with resistance. I don't even open my mouth. It's usually why I stay silent. Like, a lot of people don't notice, but when I come into a company, I don't talk for a week. I don't say anything because I'm super influential in, like, I'm opinionated, I'm loud, I can and when you have this problem that developers are sort of a little bit detracted and connecting and disconnected, and they don't feel comfortable.
I cannot imagine you as a person who is not talking.
Yes, and I come in, I don't even introduce myself, I just send a text message, hey, I'm the new coach, I'll be shadowing for a week, so I'll be joining conversations here and there. Maybe I'll ask a question. We can introduce later. And then I just shadow them for a week. And that's the only time where I'm completely silent. Like, even if I'm working with a large company for like years, there will always be like that week-long period or 10 days where I'm just shadowing as many meetings as I can, and I just shut up. I just shut up and take it all in, because I want to see a pure, uninfluenced baseline of what is it like if I don't contribute anything. What is it like if I shut up? Because otherwise, I don't know if if something I said steered the conversation in a different way, or my presence steered the conversation in a different way. And that's super helpful. And then that helps me establish a baseline. And that baseline will usually show me inconsistencies. People are saying, oh, no, everything's okay, we don't need any help, but right? There's like a list of issues. It's like, hey, your stakeholders have all these issues. Do you know about them? It's like, yes. Why don't you want help on them? Oh, because we never have the time to act on it. Okay, so do you want help with that? No, that cannot be helped. It's like, yes, I would like time, but what can you do? It is what it is, right? So developers generally will put themselves in a state of helplessness, right? Like, they will attribute everything to, yeah, but we're always busy, I never have time. Why would I ask help if we won't be able to take action on it?
Skepticism is the big philosophy of developers these days. We doubt that this actually helps, so just keep doing what we do. That's skepticism.
And you can see it with anything. You can see it with tech debt, refactoring, testing, AI adoption, and a few years ago it was microservices or documentation, good API design. Some of you will experience this with, like, hey, should we event source stuff? Should we not? What about audit trails? What about security concerns? Should we let Claude run amok? Should we do agentic coding, or should we do continuous delivery, or should we do something in between? Should we do Scrum? Should we have sprints? And generally, there is this sort of self-imposed helplessness that developers put themselves in, and that disconnects them from the communication pipeline, from the like that seat around the fire. Like if you're in a tribe and you had that tribal meeting at the end of the day where there's a fireplace where people get together, they get to talk, they get to express their emotions, and they get to express their appreciation for being part of the tribe. If you don't partake in that ritual and you don't express how you're feeling and what you would like to see improved, then you will basically go into this coping, hoping state where you hope some things will improve, but you don't want to contribute anything towards it because you want to save yourself that disappointment of, yeah, if I try, it's just gonna be for naught. Like it's not gonna work if I speak up about it. So why bother?
It is not just that. It is the idea of, oh, I could be embarrassed. I could be the awkward person who is embarrassing myself in front of others while pointing out things which actually aren't problems because no one is talking about problems. So what I have to say here, and I think that it's a little bit like I expect that the team lead or the manager is doing that for us. That's a little bit the idea.
Simon says, my first thought is survival in this world, constant learning culture. Adrian did a useful chat about how to record projects and recording in Git Obsidian, a dev journal, a lifesaver. Tech is solvable.
Actually, right now I'm running 2 cohorts, actually not cohorts, but as fellowships with tech teams. This is the first time I utilize my journaling mirror book technique and spend it on a team. It's still more of a hypothesis, but I have a clear goal behind that. And I think it starts to work on both sides. It takes a little bit of time, but there is a very interesting parallel to what you just said with a reflection in the evening, sitting around the fire and talking about things. That is the missing ingredient I saw in the last years, in recent years, in basically every team I was working with.
Yeah.
And we called it isolation, a gap, but this is more the symptom. The actual thing which is missing based on the human condition, how human interact, is human interaction. So you don't have this space where you are, first of all, a group of humans working together on a team, and second, you are developers, and third, you have technical issues. And imagine you are a group of children playing together. Everyone has memories about that. You were not like, yeah, my role in this team is, and I now been introduced to a group of people. No, you were a person introducing to a group, and then you were looking what you're going to do today. And that is the same you should do. This is why I personally prefer monotasking like experiences, continuous delivery back in the days, but today I give it a name because of it's actually working as humans together on something and tackling issues. And if there is an issue, tackle that issue together and give it a name.
I work with a lot of startups, and oftentimes you get this sort of existential angst from the founders or from the C-suite, let's say, when the runway reaches a certain threshold of, and it is different, right? Like what you feel in your belly is a different number for everybody. Some people love having 6-month runway. Some people get anxious when runway is less than 3 years, and you just have to experience it. But oftentimes I see this moment in a company's evolution when they have a bad year and they need to recover from a bad year, right? And in their head, it's all doom and gloom. And the only way out is to push engineers to build more stuff in a short time frame, right? And so when they're doom and gloom, the founder, the CTO, the leader, they're thinking, okay, we're running out of money. We need to push engineers. Their first thought is, okay, we can't say this out loud because it'll demotivate them. So we need to push them. And the truth couldn't be farther from that. Like it's such a disingenuous and harmful assumption to make. Because oftentimes when I talk to leaders, I often get them into a room and I tell them, look, this is if you want to treat them like a feature factory, yes. But chances are your numbers are down, your revenue is down because you have been treating them like a feature factory. And there was a period of time where the company grew from the initial founders And I can assure you that growth period followed a period when you treated the team with respect, when you didn't treat them like a feature factory, when you told them, hey, there's an issue, chances of failure are very high, revenue is done, but here's what we can do about it. And usually it takes some convincing, but generally what I ask them to do is like, look, call a town hall meeting and tell them the news. Don't tell them the doom and gloom that you're feeling. Just tell them the news. Tell them the numbers, good and bad, and then ask for their help. Then tell them, because of these revenue numbers, we are canceling a few projects, and we could use your help in finding the right focus for this area of the product.
That's a great idea.
Right?
You should do that.
And just be upfront with them as like, hey, recently we've been a bit anxious, numbers are worse than we thought, but there's a future in this area. We want your ideas on how to make this area better. And implicitly that means please no distractions outside of this domain, right? Like when leaders get like, why are you working on that? Stop working on that. It's because they haven't communicated, right, their thought process, because obviously the engineers don't know your finances in depth and your financial models and your theoretical models.
They don't need to. They just need to know the signals.
They just need to know the signals. They just need to know the trend. They need to know how you feel about your organization. They need to know about how you feel about your finances, how you feel about their performance. And if you think things aren't going well, the best thing to do as a leader, as a founder, is to have a town hall, have that campfire moment and tell them, hey, financially, we're okay. Here's how long we have. It's less than ideal. Here's what I think we can do about it. Here's our focus. And we need your help, right? And we need your help. We would appreciate if you helped, what kind of ideas could help. But most importantly, this is a slightly higher level of intensity for us. And it is transitory, it is temporary. And we would appreciate, if you stop distractions, as in, some pet projects along the side that are not constructive or productive. Or if somebody wants to go on a 3-year-long refactoring architecture project, that they have enough information to not even need to be talked out of it or shut down needlessly. So people can understand the constraints, so they just curb their appetites to the conditions, right? So that people can work with the same constraints without having somebody to gatekeep. Oh, no, that project is not financially viable for us. It's like, why not? Well, because do you know the financials? It's like, no, nobody has conversations like that. Just be upfront with them. If things aren't ideal, tell them, and then ask them for support, ask them for help, tell them to focus, and show them what to focus on. Because then you have a tough conversation that then ends on a high. And that is the best way to have a town hall meeting. Because the worst way to have a town hall meeting is, we're doing all this great. Look how much we've deployed. But, by the way, revenue is down, and we might have to fire people at the end of the quarter if they don't get approved. It's like no. Don't have that version of the conversation. That's silly. Because then you're saying everything's okay, but by the way, it needs to be a lot better.
Don't provide problems where people have no power over to change them. It's just fear. Don't do that.
Fear. Yeah, it's just fear.
So I think we've done that topic now. I think it was a very good topic today, very interesting topic, and that gives you a glimpse of what kind of topics we have in the future as well. It is more about the human in tech, the human side on the tech journey, because that is that's where you need to have the leverage. So AI will be as well a little bit of a topic, but not the main topic, and specific tech topics not as well. We will provide you next. Get to our. Okay, now it's me who.
Both of us, I think. I think we both disconnected.
That's great. Anyway, so next week we will get more information about how you can subscribe. We're thinking about now the Discord. Mm-hmm. Let's take it into the next week. But it's always Wednesday, same time, like 4 CEST here, German time. but you will be able to subscribe. That you have it in your calendar as
Yep.
well when it pops up. There's a new feature. We will send it to you. We will get to that. Thanks a lot. And we will post it on YouTube as well, so that we will use the post function there. It's a
Yeah.
great function, I hope. I wish you a great day, everyone. Thanks, Dennis, for that great episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Simon,
too,
Rians, Carlo, Maria,
Maria,
Shea.
Shay.
So
Yeah,
people actually. Shay. You're right.
Irish. Yeah.
Irish. Goodbye, everyone.